Well, thank you for taking a few minutes to interview with us today. I wanted to ask you a few questions about the planetarium today and how it got started and how God led you through that process. And I guess the first question is, how did you first get the idea?
The idea goes back quite a few years. My dad got a hold of a book quite a few years ago on the gospel and the stars, and how that the constellations, taken in order through the years and supported by the scriptures, show us the story of Christ's plan of redemption. And we had talked about this some, and after a period of time we talked about, wouldn't it be great if we had some way of showing this to people and demonstrating, looking at the constellations in the sky and talking about the stars and what their star names meant, and to present this story. Well, we talked about it, and years went by, and it turned out that one fall we went to my wife's home in Tennessee to visit for Christmas. While we were there, Ruth's brothers asked us if he would like to go to the planetarium in Kingsport, Tennessee, and see their Christmas program, which happened to be on the subject of the Star of Bethlehem. We said yes, we would. And for me, I had never been in a planetarium before. This is my very first visit. Well, we watched their program, which was very well done, and ended with the thought that perhaps the best explanation for the Star of Bethlehem was a miracle. I liked that, and it came from a public planetarium. So I thought that was really special. Well, afterwards then I got to meet and to talk with the director of that planetarium, and we discussed together the idea that we had, just very briefly, about the stars and their meaning and so on. He said, well, did you know that our projector is for sale? And I said, no, I didn't know anything about it. He said, yes, it's been advertised all over the United States in magazines and other means that this projector is for sale. We have a new model coming in. He said, we've only had this projector for about 6 years, so it's still fairly new and in good condition, and we're getting a new model, and this one's available on a bid basis to anyone who would like to bid on it. So that's where I first found out about it. So I thanked him, and we came home after Christmas, and I talked to my mother and dad about it, and we didn't tell other people about it, but we talked about it, and I said, let's just really pray about it and see if God would want us to have that projector. I had talked to the man up there about how much it would cost, and he said they had spent about $60,000 for the projector when they bought it new, and that it was available on a bid basis with a minimum of $5,000. They said it was really worth a whole lot more than that, but they wouldn't go any lower than that. So we all began to pray, just ask the Lord to guide and show us if he wanted us to have that projector. 2 months later, we were visiting at a church in Atlanta, and a lady came over to me after the service that evening and said to me, she said, I'd like to buy the projector for Camp Sunrise. I said, you would? I was totally surprised because I had no idea how she knew about it, because we didn't tell people about it. We just prayed about it. And so she went on to tell me more of her story, that she, of course, was a believer in the Lord Jesus, and her father was not. But she had been left a small amount of money in a trust fund, and he was managing that fund for her. And so she thought, well, I'm going to pray about it and see if the Lord wants me to give some of that money to get the projector for camp. So she began praying. And what she asked the Lord was that if, when she presented this idea to her father, that he would be agreeable to giving some of the money for the projector, knowing that he was not a Christian. He did not believe in the things of God. So she said, I went to my father then after I prayed about it, and I told him what I had in mind, and she said he was enthusiastic about giving the money. He really wanted to do it. She said, so I'm offering you $5,000 to buy the projector for Camp Sunrise. So I said, well, that was just really amazing. It was a great surprise to me.
Right.
So went to my office the next day and got the little typewriter out and started typing a letter. And in the letter I offered the city of Kingsport, Tennessee, the amount of money that we were going to offer for the projector. But when I got to that sentence in the letter, instead of saying $5,000, the Lord just impressed upon me very strongly to add $25 out of the camp fund to go with that to make it a little bit over their minimum. So I offered $5,025. Well, sent the letter off in the mail to Tennessee, and a week later we got a phone call, and the purchasing agent for the city of Kingsport called me and said, you've won the bid. The projector's yours, come get it. Which was just amazing to us, the way God had provided all that. Not telling people about it, and so on, and yet here this lady found out about it and offered to give the money. Well, you want me to continue?
Sounds good.
Okay, so we made arrangements then to go to Tennessee to pick up the projector and to bring it here to Camp Sunrise. I asked the principal of our school if my son David, who was a student at Fairmount High School, if he could go with me and help me with the work. And because this was definitely going to be an educational advantage to our county, because we had nothing like that around here, both the principal and the superintendent of schools both gave permission for David to get out of school and to go with me to Tennessee to bring the projector back. Well, we did. We went up there, and I had a pickup truck, and we also rented a little U-Haul trailer, and we went to Kingsport, Tennessee to get the projector. Well, we began working on taking it apart. Now, I'd never seen this thing before. I had nothing idea how to even work one or how anything worked. There were all these dials and controls, to make it work. I had no idea. I said to Mike Chessman, who was the director, I said, show me how this thing works first. I don't know anything about it. So he showed me, and it wasn't that difficult, really, to learn. And so we started doing that, and then we started taking it apart. And just to give you an idea how much was involved, just going through the floor of the planetarium, there was a conduit with wires in it going to the projector out in the center. And there was about 400 wires just in that one part of it.
Wow.
And we had all that to take apart, and we had to label everything so we could put it back together again. Because we didn't have a place to put it when we got home. We didn't have a building to put it in. And it got up to be around lunchtime, and I said to Mike Chessman, I said, let's go down to the restaurant and get a sandwich or something to eat, and I can be asking you questions and making some notes, and you can tell me, I can learn from you while we're doing this. So we did. We were sitting there eating our lunch, and all of a sudden he changed the subject. He said, by the way, did you know that you weren't the only ones that bid on that projector? I said, no, I didn't know that. I said, I thought we were the only ones. He said, no, there was another bid. And he said, we had offered $25 extra. He said, you know how much difference there was between your bid and the other bid? I said, no. He said, $5. The other man had offered $20 over the minimum, and the Lord told me to add 25. Well, we finished the day. It took us all day long to finish taking the projector apart and packing it in my pickup truck and the U-Haul trailer that we had rented. Then we brought it back here to Camp Sunrise. Well, we put it in my storage building, covered it all up with plastic because there'd be some time before we would use this. We had no building to put it in. We didn't have money to build a building with. And yet, as we proceeded with this, God began to provide the funds to build a regular planetarium. That was something that took us about a little over 2 years to build. We built it ourselves. David and I did a lot of the work, and others came in and helped from time to time. And we finally got the building put together, and we were down to finishing up inside. I said to my son David, I said, they've got the carpet down on the floor now, and they're getting ready to install the seats. Let's go ahead and get the projector and bring it up here and start putting it together. Well, we did. We unpacked it, brought it up there. Now, we hadn't seen the inside of this thing for several years. And we had all these wires to hook up that we didn't remember anything much about. But we put it all together and hooked everything up as we thought it was supposed to be, and we wondered, what's going to happen when we turn all these circuit breakers on? Is it going to blow up? What's going to take place?
Right.
Well, we turned everything on, and everything worked perfect. There were no flaws at all. The end of that week, Mike Chessman from the planetarium in Kingsport, Tennessee, came through here on his way to Florida for a visit. And he came through, and we did have to make a few adjustments, getting things set just right on it. Mike helped with that, and we were ready to begin work. So that's how the projector got here. And the marvelous thing about the whole thing is, that our God is a great God, and if He wants us to do something, and He tells us to do it, then He provides for it. And that's what happened. Just like He provided in an amazing way that gift of $5,000 from a person who we didn't know had no idea she even knew anything about it. And yet God provided through her. Funds came in from different places, different people, and churches and individuals from a number of parts of the United States. And God provided, and we built the building. Everything was paid for and complete. We had a lot of other little projectors and things to purchase. God provided for all that as we went along. So the really important part of this lesson is that if we are doing what God wants us to do and what He directs us to do, then He will provide and take care of the expenses and all that's needed in wisdom and guidance. Just like putting all those wires back together again. We didn't know it was going to work because we hadn't seen any of this for several years. And yet it all worked perfect when we put it together again. The Lord helped us to know what to do and where to put each wire and how to hook it up. So God guided us in all that. And this is the great lesson in all of this, that we have a great God who can do great things. But we have to be in His will, doing what He wants us to do, living and working under His guidance and His direction.
Yeah. Good challenge for all of us to live by.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me add one more little thing.
Yeah.
Through all of our programs, we use that to present the gospel to people. And over the years, when I was working with the planetarium, which I'm not any longer, now that I've gotten older, we were able to give the gospel to about 130,000 people through that means. How God can take just one person and use them, to reach out to many people. It's an amazing lesson there too, I think, that He would do that.
Well, thanks again for taking a few minutes to share the history of the planetarium with us.